By all accounts, the English Channel is supposed to be behind me right now. A conquered stretch of water, right? Instead, it genuinely feels like this churning ocean is actively trying to drag my entire invasion fleet right back to Gaul. I'm Julius Caesar, and I'm standing on the rolling deck of a warship at the absolute edge of the known world. And let me tell you, this isn't just a military campaign anymore. It's an immediate, visceral fight for survival against a sea that clearly doesn't want me or Rome alive.
The sensory experience out here, it's absolutely brutal. The waves are slamming against the hull so hard that the spray is hitting my knees before my boots have even touched the shore. Salt is just violently lashing across my face, and this freezing rain is needling right through my wool cloak. I'm trying to organize a massive invasion force here, but every single command I shout just vanishes. It's swallowed instantly by this roaring wind before it can even reach the next ship in our line.
You know, back in Rome, over a nice glass of wine, every senator pretends they've already conquered this island. It's this mythical land that every merchant loves to exaggerate. And let's be clear, no one, not Alexander the Great, not any Roman consul has ever crossed this water. But the reality facing me right now isn't some merchant's myth. It's these terrifying, massive white walls of chalk cliffs rising straight out of the crashing sea. I mean, it literally looks like the gods themselves filed a formal complaint against my landing plans.
And look who's waiting for us on top of those cliffs. Hundreds of painted British warriors and cavalry are just pacing the edges, screaming down into the storm. Their chariots are darting back and forth, spinning effortlessly right along the precipice. It's like they're performing this lethal choreographed dance for a captive audience. The storm clouds are parting just enough to cast them in this dramatic lighting, and unfortunately for me and my legions, we are the front row audience to this terrifying display.
But then, suddenly, the spinning chariots stop, and the realization hits me like a physical blow to the chest. The shoreline I so carefully chose on my maps, it's completely impossible in reality. The Britons are shadowing our every single movement from the heights up there. They're perfectly positioned, practically hovering over us, just waiting. I know instantly that any attempt to land right here, right now, is going to be met with a devastating shower of spears the exact second we make our first move toward the beach.
Now they wheel away to reposition, and I'm watching my armor-clad legionaries freeze up on the rolling, pitching decks of our transports. I mean, these are the finest soldiers in the world, and they're gripping shields that are now incredibly slick with seawater instead of enemy blood. You can literally see that terrifying math happening in their eyes. They realize our transports can't get close enough to the shore, and leaping into this deep, churning surf while wearing 50 pounds of magnificent Roman armor, that's an absolute death sentence.
The chariots return to the cliff edge, totally taunting us. You know, leadership is such a fascinating, heavy performance. As commander, I have to project absolute certainty to my men. I have to stand here on this violently rocking deck, exuding the confidence of a guy who has already solved the problem. Meanwhile, internally, I am desperately trying to invent a solution out of thin air. Because before a single sword has even been swung, the chaos is costing us dearly. A massive wave just crashes violently over the bow of my ship. It hits with so much force that it knocks 3 of my toughest legionaries flat on their backs. One of them loses his helmet to the sea in an instant, just gone forever. I'm standing here quietly weighing the massive expense of this sheer madness, and I actually have to ask myself, if the god Neptune offered me a full refund on this crossing right now, would I take it?
Well, the enemy isn't waiting around for us to figure it out. The British cavalry are galloping effortlessly through the crashing surf now, splashing right into the shallows to meet us. Their chariots spin, they stop, they wheel away, and they return before my men can even attempt to form ranks. Look, I've fought the Gauls, I've fought the Germans, but these Britons, they fight like they invented chaos as a recreational activity.
I can feel it, the heavy, expectant gaze of my officers burning into the side of my face. They're waiting. They are always waiting for an order, a strategy, a brilliant maneuver from Caesar. But in this incredibly tense situation, as the storm howls and those spears prepare to rain down, I have absolutely no command to give. Because if Julius Caesar hesitates, what exactly are they supposed to do?
Then the impossible happens. One single man breaks the paralysis. The standard-bearer of the 10th Legion, a guy whose name I don't even know yet, grips the sacred silver eagle tighter than his own life. He looks at the surf, he looks at the screaming Britons, and then he looks back at his paralyzed comrades. His voice cuts right through the howling storm as he screams, "If you don't want to betray your eagle, follow me!" And without even waiting for my order, he leaps straight off the ship into the freezing deep sea.
I watch in absolute horror as the eagle disappears entirely beneath those crashing gray waves. For one terrifying heartbeat, it genuinely feels as though Rome itself drowns right in front of me. But then, a massive roar erupts from my men as the standard rises again. The bearer pushes up through the foaming water, still advancing toward the enemy. My men are instantly forced to jump in after him. And look, it's not out of tactical brilliance, but because no Roman ever lets the eagle stand alone.
What follows is just a messy, desperate fight in chest-deep surf where mere survival entirely trumps any kind of military tactics. Men are literally using their heavy shields as anchors against the current. They're using their pylons as walking sticks just to stay upright in the cloudy, churned-up sand. As I watch this all unfold, I'm feeling this fascinating, strange mix of profound relief and, honestly, mild embarrassment. History, it seems, has an incredibly annoying habit of choosing a completely unknown supporting actor to trigger its greatest scenes.
I snap out of my awe and immediately bark new orders. I command the warships to pull closer to the shore, right into the absolute danger zone. We unleash a punishing volley from my archers on the unstable decks, and I have the slingers launch a literal hail of stones over the surf. It's totally chaotic, but the missiles finally force the Britons back. Just enough. Because sometimes military victory isn't a glorious sweeping cavalry charge. Sometimes it's just aggressively convincing the other side to take 3 nervous steps backward so you can buy a precarious foothold.
Finally, I step off the transport and onto British soil. And it feels completely ordinary. It's freezing cold, aggressively wet, and almost entirely composed of mud. It's an incredibly stark realization, really. For years, men dream about a legendary conquest at the edge of the world. But when you finally get there, reality simply hands you damp socks and wet feet. The impossible dream has officially become mere paperwork and logistics.
And we are barely holding on. Over the first few minutes, it is pure, terrible survival in the water. But over the next few agonizing hours, standard after standard rises on the beach, and our infantry line finally steadies. My invasion has survived its birth. But as the days stretch out, the storm completely refuses to break. It just continues to swallow our critical supplies and smash our anchored ships with an incredibly expensive appetite.
So I make the call. We absolutely refuse to chase glory inland today. As much as my ambition burns to push forward, I know too many of my men are utterly exhausted. They're coughing up seawater and bleeding from javelin wounds. Our ships are severely damaged. The weather has already proven a really harsh tactical reality today. The sea is fully capable of defeating the greatest army on earth without ever lifting a sword of its own.
So I fall back on the one thing that never, ever fails us: wonderfully repetitive Roman engineering. I order the exhausted men to drop their swords and pick up their shovels. We dig trenches, we build palisades, we frantically repair the shattered hulls of our ships, and then we repeat the whole process. We have to fortify our tenuous, muddy grip on this shore before the Britons realize just how vulnerable we truly are right now.
And oh, they definitely test us. Over the following days, the Britons unleash fast, hard, and relentless attacks against our beachhead. They're constantly probing our hastily built wooden defenses, looking for any sign of weakness, any tiny gap in the Roman line. But we endure the freezing rain, we lock our shields, and we aggressively repel every single assault they throw at us, just fiercely holding our tiny patch of dirt at the end of the world.
Eventually, the Britons realize they can't break us, and they ask for negotiations. I accept their hostages and their incredibly fragile promises of peace. But I am fully aware of their reality of this year, 55 BC. My fleet is severely damaged, our supplies are totally exhausted, and let's face it, this is not a true conquest. This is a violent, chaotic reconnaissance mission. I know we must pack up our wounded and retreat across the channel to Gaul before the winter storms permanently trap us here to die.
But as I prepare to leave this muddy shore, it hits me. Even without a total military conquest, something far more historically devastating has occurred today. We didn't just survive the beach, we shattered a massive psychological barrier. For the first time in human history, Rome has successfully crossed into the complete unknown. We proved that the terrifying edge of the map can, in fact, be breached.
I look out at the conquered, crashing waves of the channel. The ocean is no longer the terrifying end of the world. It is merely an obstacle with really poor manners. I have found the road to Britain. I've shown my legions the exact way. And now that Roman ambition knows this road exists, honestly, will I ever stop walking?